Our coolant temp looks okay. We're at 190F. Our air temp looks all right. Go ahead and do a pull if the dyno's ready.
So during that dyno pull, I was doing the PC logging, which will show me all of these parameters that are on the screen.
So according to this, the O2 feedback value was about -7 everywhere. Although at certain points, the actual AFRs were slightly richer than at other points. So especially at 5,000, I'm going to take out a little bit more fuel than I'm going to take out at, for instance, 5,300 or at, what's this here, 4,200. So I'm going to go into our fuel map again. I'm going to open it up a little bit bigger. I'm going to find 5,300 RPMs. This was at full throttle. So you'll notice, although it said to take 6% out, I'm only going to take 3% out, just because I don't want to overshoot when I'm removing fuel. I would rather get one step closer, but not close enough to being lean enough, rather than going too lean, which is why I'm using small percentages at a time. And just for kicks, I just realized maybe on my parameters, let's say you want to look at a couple other things that aren't being displayed yet. In addition to all these other things, I'm going to go in here, the first thing I'm going to do, let's add injector duty cycle. So I'm going to click on this locked. I'm going to unlock the parameters window. I'm going to go down here to where I want to add another parameter. I'm going to right click, insert a new parameter. I don't really care about fuel mod. That has to do with, I believe, acceleration fueling. I'm going to look at injector duty. So I just type in injector duty. That's one of the parameters. Right now our injector duty is 2%. I'm going to delete the idle learn value because I'm not so concerned about that right now. This calibration is configured to add more fuel with more boost. So it's like a combination of having a pressure-based map and a throttle position-based map. It has a lot of the advantages of both. The throttle map usually tends to have really good response and also really good part throttle drivability compared to a speed density calibration. And the speed density calibration, you pretty much need to do that if you've got a boosted car. And so you can see that the boost and the throttle position are moving. They're related, but they're not the exact same number. So if you were to do your calibration based off of just one, you might be a little less accurate than if you've got a calibration that's using both. That's one of the advantages to this system that a few of the other systems, they're not all able to do this, and it's a nice thing to be able to do. Watch during the dyno pull that the throttle position will stay at 100%, but the boost will come up as the turbo spools. And you can see the EMS is using a different amount of fuel for 100% throttle and, 100 kPa versus 100% throttle and 110 kPa. Good. So we'll hit F6. We're going to save this. Similarly, we might want to make iterations of changing ignition timing and measuring how that affects the engine power that we read on our dyno plot. You might want to go in there and make a a 3-degree change. Subtract 3 degrees of ignition timing and see how that affects power. One way you could do this, if we were to show this map, is you would select whichever section you want to change the timing at. And you could use the plus and minus keys if you wanted to. You could hit plus. It'll add a certain amount of timing. You could hit minus. It'll subtract a certain amount of timing. That's usually making pretty small increments. This was, fractions of a degree. If we wanted to change the table by 2 degrees everywhere, say I want to remove 2 degrees of timing, we'll do 3 just because. This is how you do it, -3. So now our number here, which is currently 16.0, when we hit enter, that's going to go down by 3. As soon as we're connected to the computer again, it's going to go down by 3. And it's now 12.9. It's about 13 instead of 16. So we took the entire map and quickly subtracted 3 degrees of timing so we could go do our dyno pull and measure how that affected the engine power. Now, when you're doing timing, there's not a nice, simple way to do it. You don't have an ignition timing feedback that will just find out the amount of power that the engine's making and make changes to your ignition map for you on the fly. So this is where experience comes into play. This is what tuners get paid a lot of money to do, is largely they might play with the ignition timing as well as quite a few other things, temperature trims, acceleration fuel, some of the other things that are complicated enough that they take a lot of just experience and trying things and figuring out what works for some cars and what doesn't work for other cars. Unfortunately, it's not as easy as just saying run these numbers for every SR20 engine out there, because each setup's going to be different. It's going to require a different amount of ignition timing. Even some setups will respond differently to AFRs. Just because one car runs well at 11.0 doesn't mean that every car is going to run well at 11.0. All that sort of stuff is largely dependent on individual setups and sometimes even things like driver preference if they're looking to do a road race car versus a drag race car. I hope this was informative to you guys. I hope this will save our tech support guy so that he can answer some tough tech support questions.